Okay. So as I said, DNS is not a centralized management. It is managed by various entities across the globe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a hierarchy in DNS which we follow. Okay. So
Okay.
in Linux, have you worked on Linux environment prior by any
No.
chance? Okay.
No.
In Linux, we do have something called as root folder. Okay, that is
Okay.
the root folder which comprises of all the startup configuration and other
Okay.
parts. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
from the root folder, again it subdivides into multiple categories
Mm-hmm.
as and it goes on like that. Like how we have
Okay.
in Windows, we have my computer as one of the folder, and we
Mm-hmm.
can create one more folder within any drive, C or D drive, and again inside that folder we can create sub drives, and it goes on right based on our
Mm-hmm.
requirements. Same way, DNS, for DNS also there is a hierarchy which has been followed globally. So
Okay.
as you see here, root meaning
Mm-hmm.
root servers. Root is actually represented as a dot. Okay, so
Okay.
www.google.com. After com, there will be again a dot,
Okay.
which in common people are not aware of that. So
Okay.
the after dot com ending with dot, that dot we call it
Mm.
as root.
Okay. But it's
Okay.
not like visible when we write.
Yes, it's not visible. But by default, all the browsers, when you enter any FQDN meaning
Mm.
fully qualified domain name. So when you
Mm.
enter any URL or FQDN, by default, the browser appends dot at the last while searching.
Okay.
Okay. The reason why dot is been added at the last is dot is the root server, meaning root server has all the top level domain history.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are totally 13 root servers uh, which are located in different geographical location across the globe and managed by
Mm-hmm.
various entities. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
some of the institutes, some of the network organization as such. Okay, there are totally as of
Mm-hmm.
now 13 root servers. Okay,
Okay.
now what this root server consists of? This root server consists of top level domains such as
Okay.
com, net, edu, mil means
Mm.
military, buz means business. Root folder comprises of all the top level domain. So root folder
Okay.
is actually a folder which consists of information about all the top level domains. Top level
Mm.
domains are called com, net, edu, military, buz. I hope you might have come across these type. Let's say www dot
edu.net.com I have seen.
yeah dot mil
These three,
dot
but
biz. Yeah,
no,
even
the remaining I never saw.
dot in means India, dot
Yeah, that
UK.
I have seen .in
Yeah. So
because we
all
use
this
the
comes,
one here .ae.
okay. Yeah, all those comes under top level domain. So nobody
Mm.
else can get, means nobody else can, like these top level domain are registered at the root.
Mm.
Okay. If you want to
Okay.
register your own top level domain, something we call as map or any terminology which you want to register in the top level domain, you have to pay FT fee and get it registered in the root folder.
Hmm.
Okay.
Root
Now,
folder mean it's an any organization.
yes, root servers are actually managed by different entities. There are different institutes which manage
Hmm.
DNS root server. So the
For
root
can
server
I
will be,
interrupt you once again? See,
yeah,
here the net provider is like we purchase this domain from Etisalat.
okay,
Okay, the provider here is the company is Etisalat. There is another provider who is like I think his name is Do, something like that. DU.
okay,
Okay. So if I purchase from them, it is always .ae.
okay.
Okay. Let's
So,
say if I want to register my own like .mf or whatever it is, I
okay,
can do that. That's what you're saying.
you can do that, but there will be hefty of amount which you have to pay.
Okay. And who is controlling this?
Yeah, I'll come back to that. So
Hmm.
for now, you can consider like root server has all the top level domain information, including your AE as well. Okay,
Okay.
so the .com, net, edu, ae, we call it as top level domain. Coming to the
Okay.
second level domain meaning example is there, right? Here you see
Yeah.
example. This we
Mm-hmm.
call it as second level domain. This we call it as second level domain. This
Mm-hmm.
example.net, that is example, we call it as second level domain. Hawaii.edu,
Mm.
Hawaii is called second level domain. In your case, dental.ae means dental is called second level domain. Okay,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
subdomain. Let's say in your in dental clinic there is a HR
Mm.
department. Then hr.dental.com, where HR will be a subdomain. Okay, in
Okay.
this case, eng is subdomain. Similarly here, hr.example.net, where HR is subdomain.
Okay.
ics.hawaii.edu is where ICS is an subdomain. You can
Okay.
go as long as subdomains as many as you want. There are some restrictions I'll explain you in the later slides as well. Okay,
Okay.
it's like you're creating subfolders within the main folders. That is
Okay.
example.com. Okay,
Okay.
as you said, now you have
Now, can I interrupt
yeah,
you here?
yeah,
See, till this level domain, it is like controlled by an external person, right?
top level domain.
Is controlled by a third party.
Yes, let's say
And
now,
when it comes to the second and subdomain, this is within our premise.
correct. This is managed
Okay.
by your own. Let's say, let's take an example of your dental clinic itself. Now you
Okay.
want to register a dental clinic of yours, that is
No, we have
dental.ae.
we have one domain called the AAMC.
So aamc.ae is the domain name, right?
Yes,
Is
yes,
the
yes.
basically DNS name. ANC.ae. AE is already registered with the root server where you can't do anything. That is by default you have to use. Now
Okay.
AENC should be unique across the DNS within the
Mm-hmm.
globe. It should actually be unique. If there are any
Okay.
other organization using the same name means you are not allowed to use that name. So that is a
Purchase. Okay.
unique name. So you have
Yeah.
to once that is been unique, then you will proceed to purchase that particular AENC domain. How you are going to
Mm-hmm.
purchase the domain? You will check with your
Yeah,
registrar,
I go log
as you
into
say.
this Etisalat and then I
Yeah,
give the documents and I do the
correct.
purchase, register the domain and purchase it.
Correct. Correct. Now, what is happening here is in your country it is different, whereas in India we use GoDaddy. I hope you may be aware of that.
Yes,
So
but that is a
GoDaddy,
US based, right?
yeah, US based. So there are
Okay.
many registrar across the globe. Okay, all
Mm-hmm.
these
Mm-hmm.
registers have access to this root means this top level domain entities who are managing this root server.
Okay.
Okay, now GoDaddy will contact the entity of root server. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and they will tell I have a new registrant and he want to use aenc.ae as his
Mm-hmm.
domain name. So put that in your relevant this .com or .net or whichever it is, the .ae. Put that
Mm-hmm.
aenc under AE server, top level domain server. So
Okay.
they will put it will be registered. Basically registrar is there, right? He do have
Yeah.
access to all of this .com, .net, .edu, .ae servers. So he will
Mm-hmm.
put aenc.ae under AE server.
Okay.
Okay, so only the registrar will be having access to top level domain servers, whereas root servers is managed by uh, 13 different entities across the globe.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
now once AENC has been created, now you are the owner of aenc.ae domain, and you can create
Okay.
multiple subdomains like hr.aenc or
Mm-hmm.
engineering.aenc.ae as such domains you can
Mm-hmm.
create. So that we call it as subdomain. So this is the
Mm-hmm.
hierarchy we follow in the DNS.
Okay.
Okay, you understood, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, move on to the next. Now, as I told you in the previous slide, we do have you can create subdomains as many as, but there are some restrictions which you have to follow. Now you see here
Mm-hmm.
the DNS names meanings www.example.com in this case. So this www we call it as label. Example
Mm-hmm.
we call it as label. This com we
Mm-hmm.
call it as label. And in total that is from W till M, the total values we call it as max.
Mm-hmm.
maximum values, how much it can accommodate. There are restrictions. Now you see here,
So
maximum
the
255.
label and example is the what is
Example is also a
like the
label.
name of the entity.
Yeah, it is just a name. Okay, it is.
Okay.
These are just names, but there are restrictions how many characters you can use within that label.
No, but this example, this one, this is like we can choose, right?
Yeah, you can
The
choose.
other two labels, the one in the front and the last, the end, those are fixed one. I cannot change that. Either I can choose .com, .ae. That
No,
is
like
the only.
what I'm actually trying to explain here is how many
Mm,
characters you are using. Like in your example,
okay.
AENC.ae. AENC
Mm,
means there are only 4 characters,
yes.
right? Like that,
Yeah.
we do have some restrictions how many characters the DNS can accommodate. That is what I'm trying to
Okay.
explain here. So
Okay.
if you see here, maximum 255 characters total, including dot and trailing dot. It can
Mm-hmm.
accommodate. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
255 characters and maximum
Mm-hmm.
127 labels. Means
Mm-hmm.
this label is there, right? This
Yeah.
www, like that you can put
Mm-hmm.
120, this is one label. This example
Mm-hmm.
is another label. .com is another label. Like that you can create FQDN with 127 label.
Mm-hmm.
abc.www.example.com. Again you can put hr.abc. Like that you can create 127 different sets of labels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now each label can maximum has 63 characters. Means now A and C is only having 4
Can
characters.
you
You
once
can
again come to that second point?
127. So this www we call it as labels.
Label, yeah.
Okay. Example we call it as label, and .com
Mm.
we call it as label. So like this we
Mm-hmm.
can create 127 labels. Like ABC. ABC if you
127 means like I didn't understand. Like in okay, in this case, what you are saying is www dot. Then that became one label, right?
see, yeah, this became one label.
Example became second label. Then I
Second
can
label.
choose the example two. That is third label. Then I can choose
Yes.
example three.
Example
That
4.
is
Yeah.
another. Like that, it will
That
continue.
it will continue up to the limit of 127.
But the character is going to be 255, right? Always.
Yes, always maximum characters will be 255.
Okay. Like
See,
I'm
it
just
doesn't like
confused here. Okay, that's
no
why I'm
like
asking this question.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
See, so there are it's like 255 characters means
Hmm.
255 divided by 127. If you do the value
Hmm.
how much it comes, those many values you can accommodate in each label.
Ah, okay. Now I got it.
Okay,
Okay.
so the restriction is 255. There should be a DNS name, that is www.google.com. There are only 12 characters.
Mm-hmm.
www.google.com, there are only 12 characters, or we can take this one only. You can see 1 2
Mm-hmm.
3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12
Mm-hmm.
13 including dot, 14 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
In total, this DNS name, there are total 15 characters. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the limit can go up to 255 characters. The DNS name can have 255 characters. Okay,
Okay.
now in
Mm-hmm.
total it can have 255 characters, and also it supports 127 labels.
Okay.
So you can put
Within these
www.
255 characters, right?
Yes, within these 255 characters you can create 127 labels.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
each label comprises of only 63 characters. So each
Okay.
label. So
Yeah,
if you
I
see
understood that now.
this one,
If
so there.
www, it can be like 63 characters, maximum up
Correct,
to.
correct.
Okay.
63
Yeah.
characters. Similarly, example. Similarly, .com. So
Mm-hmm.
63 characters. Okay.
Okay.
Now, legal characters are alphanumeric and the dash, that is hyphen symbol, you can use.
Okay.
So
Okay.
alphanumeric and a hyphen symbol you can use in your DNS name. Okay, underscore, that is underscore, you cannot use in the host name. Let's say there is
Okay.
another subdomain called hr.www.example.com, where hr becomes the host. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
h
Mm-hmm.
hyphen r cannot be created.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this becomes this www.com is a subdomain under main domain, that is example.com. Okay, inside this
Okay.
subdomain we'll be creating multiple DNS records like
Mm-hmm.
hr.www.example.com or engineering.www.example.com as such. So HR or engineering, the those we call it as host names. Okay,
Okay.
the host shouldn't consist of any underscore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it is case insensitive DNS names. I hope you
So
understood the DNS.
whether if it's uppercase or
Yeah,
lowercase, it's okay.
it's okay. Now, if you enter www.google.com in your browser, both in uppercase and lowercase, it gives the same
Mm.
result, right? So it
Okay.
doesn't restrict
Yeah.
you. I
Okay.
hope you understood. So you
Yes,
understood
I
the
got.
DNS names?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now let's go on to the next name resolution process. This is one of the important backend mechanism
Mm-hmm.
that happens. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this is the client. Okay, now your
Mm-hmm.
PC, you are the client. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now you have opened Google Chrome. Okay, in your
Mm-hmm.
Chrome, you have entered the FQDM, let's say www.facebook.com. Okay,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
now www.facebook.com, you know the DNS value, DNS name, but you don't know the
Okay.
IP address of www.facebook.com. Neither your
Mm-hmm.
computer. Your computer also don't know the IP address of facebook.com. Now, what
Mm-hmm.
your computer does to get it resolved? Okay, that is the process we'll be discussing here. Okay,
Okay.
now as soon as you enter www.facebook.com in your browser search engine, the
Mm-hmm.
request, we call that as FQDN. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that FQDN goes to your local ISP DNS server.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you remember when we are checking ipconfig/all, there were two DNS server IP address, and those belongs to your local DNS, local provider DNS server.
Yes.
Okay, so that
That was
request,
one was like PV6 or something like that, right?
yeah, IPv6, IPv4,
And
you can
core.
just ignore for now. But
Okay.
you remember there were two DNS server IP address, right?
Yes.
And those IP
Yeah.
address belongs to your local ISP DNS
Yeah.
server. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now what happens here is you will send a request to your local ISP DNS server, like asking what is the IP address for www.facebook.com.
Okay.
Okay. Now your local DNS server, that is actually a recursive resolver or a recursive
Mm-hmm.
name server, meaning it only holds the cache information.
Okay.
Cache means see, Facebook is one of the popular domain. Many people will be using. Now,
Mm-hmm.
prior you sending the request facebook.com, there might be somebody else have asked the same server what is the IP address of facebook.com, and it might have
Mm-hmm.
somehow fetched the IP address of facebook.com, and it would have been stored that value in its the the recursive name server, the cache.
Okay.
Basically, that is a cache information.
It's a temporary
Okay.
file means to say.
Yeah, temporary file.
Okay.
So when you send www.facebook.com FQDN asking your local DNS server what is the IP for it, now your local DNS server will be checking in its cache, that is temporary file, if it
Okay.
has any previous entries for facebook.com. Now
Mm-hmm.
let's assume that it is not having entry. What
Mm-hmm.
happens next? How this local recursive name resolver will fetch that IP address? Now
Mm-hmm.
that is what now what happens here is your the DSP sorry the ISP DNS server, it will
Mm-hmm.
initiate a iterative query to the authoritative names root server. We call this as
Mm-hmm.
root server. I hope
Mm-hmm.
in the hierarchy, DNS hierarchy, we have come across root server. There are totally 13 root servers across the globe, and
No.
root server has the information. Sorry.
No, I was speaking here. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So okay, so root server will be having the information of all the top level domain servers, okay,
Okay.
such as .com, .ae, .edu,
Mm-hmm.
.business. So root server
Mm-hmm.
will be having all the top level domain information within him.
mm,
Now,
mm,
the local recursive resolver will be asking the root server, hey, what is the IP address of www.facebook.com? Root
mm,
server will review the FQDN, the total FQDN, that is www.facebook.com, and it checks and it identifies I do not have the
mm,
entire FQDN's IP address, but I can provide you a referral who is owning .com .com name server. Okay,
mhm,
basically the root server will be stripping the total FQDN from the last. That is, the
mhm.
last is .com. .com, which is a top level
Okay.
domain server, and the top level domain server information root server will be
Mhm,
having. Now the this root server will be providing a referral to the recursive resolver with an IP address. Okay, that
mhm,
IP address belongs to top level domain server. Okay,
mhm,
now you see the request, the referral IP has been provided to the recursive name resolver. Now the recursive
mhm,
name resolver will again initiate a query to the referral IP address, asking
mhm,
what is the IP address for www.facebook.com. Now
mhm,
the .com server, obviously you when you register facebook.com on
mhm,
the using GoDaddy or whatever register, they will be having control over this top level domain servers, and they will be
mhm,
registering your name in it, right? Same
mhm,
thing happens here. Now the .com server will check in its database and it identifies,
mhm,
oh, there is something called as facebook.com, and
mhm,
that facebook.com, and that facebook.com is managed by a different authoritative name servers that is within the organization, Facebook
mhm,
organization. So that IP
mhm,
address I have to provide a referral to the recursive resolver. So this
mhm,
top level domain server will be providing that referral IP address to the recursive resolver, and again this
mhm,
recursive resolver will initiate a iterative query to the Facebook organization DNS server.
mhm,
Okay, now in the organization DNS server, it will check the request is for www.facebook.com, and it will check in its database. If it has any IP mapped to that domain, that FQDN, it will respond back to the recursive
mhm,
resolver. Here is the answer for your FQDN.
mhm.
So now the request goes to the recursive name resolver. That recursive name resolver will store that IP address, that is www.facebook.com is mapped to 1.1.1.1, and I will store
Mhm,
that IP address on my server for temporary. Along
mhm.
with that, it will also respond to the client's query. So the
How long
client's
it will be
query,
there in the as a temporary?
there will be a TTL value set. I will explain you that one in the next in the later sessions. What is TTL and all the
Okay,
timer value is set. Okay,
okay.
so it the local DNS server, that is your local ISP DNS server, it will also store that value in its server and also acknowledge your
Mhm,
request. Like it will provide,
okay.
here is the IP address you are what you are looking for, facebook.com.
Mhm,
Okay, it is quite a
okay.
simpler mechanism, but in the back end, there will be multiple servers involved. So the root
Okay.
server, then comes the top level domain servers, which are managed by registrars like GoDaddy, and then comes the authoritative name servers where you are owning the domain. Like you
Mhm.
are
So the
owner for
root
the domain
will
and you
ask
have,
the top level, then the top level will refer to
yes,
the
authoritative server,
authoritative,
the owner of the domain. And because
and
owner
then
has
it will
all the
comes
entry,
back to DNS.
correct, correct.
Okay.
So the communication that happens between the client and the your local DNS server, we call it as
Mhm.
recursive query. Meaning, client will ask the DNS server what is the IP address for facebook.com, and it is
Okay.
responsibility of the DNS server to fetch that information and provide to the client.
Okay.
Okay, this we call it as recursive query. But what is happening here is this is iterative query. How this works is,
Mhm.
now the local DNS server, it will be asking the root server. Root server is responding back with the referral IP address.
Mhm.
Root server is not going to query on
So,
behalf of this
Suman,
DNS
can
server.
I interrupt you?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so a recursive query, the communication that happens between the client and the local
Mhm.
DNS server within the ISP,
Mhm.
we call it as recursive query, because client is asking the DNS server and DNS server responsibility is to provide answer to the client. Okay,
Mhm.
whereas the communication that happens between your local DNS ISP and rest of the root server, top level domain servers, authoritative servers are iterative queries, meaning your local ISP DNS server will be generating a query to the root server, and root server
Mhm.
will provide him a referral. Okay,
Okay.
but the root server is not going to ask the top level domain on behalf of the recursive name server. Now, when we come to a DNS message, like I'll show you a dig example later on, but when you do a dig for www.example.com and by
Mhm.
providing what type of record, so this
Mhm.
is the answer you get. Answer comprises of five different sections, that is header section, question, answer, authority, and additional. What is the header? Header is you have asked one query and you are
This
getting
is
some.
like from which during which connection?
This is not a connection, this is for testing. I'll show you on a Linux environment. We
Okay.
make use of, see, on the other day, you remember on the command prompt, we have entered www.facebook.com and we got an answer. Similarly, in Linux environment, we have something called as dig. Dig is a tool
Mm.
to perform DNS resolution. Now I just
Okay.
provide dig and provided the FKDN, that is www.example.com. And here
Mhm.
is the answer what I get on the Linux environment, a detailed answer.
Okay.
This answer consists of header section, question section, answer section, authority section, additional section. For you,
Okay.
you can just consider you have asked what is the question you asked, www.example.com. Okay, you can
Okay.
ignore this one. I'll explain later what is IN and A. Now the
Mhm.
answer section is the your FQDN and this is the answer. The IP address is this one. This is the answer.
Okay.
Okay. How you got
Mhm.
this answer? By reaching this authoritative name servers. This
Okay.
name server. These name servers
Mhm.
are managed by the organization example.com. Might be.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now what is the IP address of this name servers is it is provided here. You see IP address of this name server is this A means IPv4, quad A means IPv6.
Okay.
You're getting right. This is the detail. This mainly we use for troubleshooting purpose. I'm just explaining you what are the different categories we have. Okay.
Okay.
Basically, what question
Mhm.
you ask and what answer you get, and from where you are getting the answer.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So we do have different sets of resource records, such as A record, quad A, PTR, CNAME, MX, SOA, NS, SRV, TXT. We
Mhm.
mainly use A record, meaning IPv4 translation. Facebook.com
Okay.
translated to an IPv4 address that is 1.1.1.1. Okay,
Mhm.
that record we call it as A record. Quad A record
Mhm.
means IPv6 translation, that is Facebook.com translate to an IPv6 address, hexadecimal value.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
PTR means pointer record. Now, if I ask Google what is HTTP colon slash 1.1.1, 1.1.1.1, then it has to resolve to a name that is google.com. So
Okay.
that we call it as pointer. It is the reverse order of A. So
Okay.
here we give name and it translates to IP address, whereas in pointer we give IP address, it translates to name. You're getting right?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. What is CNAME? CNAME means another alternate name. Now, uh, so apple.com is pointing to 1.1.1.1. Assume like this. Now there is
Mhm.
another name for Apple. We can call it as Mango. Mango is
Okay.
another name. So what I can in the CNAME, what I can do is www.mango.com pointing to www.apple.com. I can
Okay.
create like that. Alternate name
Okay.
record creation using alias.
Okay.
Basically, a person has multiple names, right? So
Okay.
the same name is represented by only one person. So same
Okay.
way in CNAME, we'll be creating multiple names pointing to the main name.
Okay.
Okay. MX
Mhm.
record we will be using for mail exchange, and as of now, it is not required because all these values will be provided by vendor himself. Okay.
Okay.
SOA means start of authority. Whenever you create a domain, I'll show this one
Mm-hmm.
in the live example. Whenever you create a domain, automatically SOA record will be created. Meaning
Okay.
SOA comprises of name servers and rest timer values as such.
Okay.
Okay. NS record means name servers. Like what is the IP address of the name server?
Okay.
SRV is service record, TCP UDP
Mm-hmm.
related service record, which
Mm.
mostly will be using in the organization for
Okay.
various services like FTP service, file transfer service, and all. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
TST record is used for mainly used for signature values, like cryptography signature for authentication purpose. We use of TXT records. Okay, are able to see the command prompt?
Yes.
Now here I am issue. So NS lookup is a command which is used for DNS resolution. So
Mm-hmm.
when I enter NS lookup, enter.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is my default DNS server which has been used.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I want to know the IP address of facebook.com. You see, facebook.com IP address is this is IPv6 address and this is IPv4 address.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Same thing goes here. dig.www.example.com meaning
Mm-hmm.
dig is being used in Linux environment. In Windows we don't
Okay.
use Linux, right? So dig is the
Mm-hmm.
command we make use in Linux Ubuntu as such environment, or in your even in
Okay.
Mac also you can give it a try. So when you issue the
Mm-hmm.
command dig providing followed by the URL that is facebook.com, the
Mm-hmm.
response what you are getting here, the same response you can see here. You see facebook.com is the question. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
in this case
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
similarly in this case question is www.example.com. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now answer is this is the answer, IPv6 and IPv4. You're seeing
Okay.
my screen, right? Similarly,
Yes.
if you see answer here for www.example.com, this is the answer 93.184.216.34.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
who has given me this answer? Like which server has provided me this answer? If
Mm-hmm.
you see here, for me, this facebook.com and this answer is provided by this server.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Same goes here. This answer is provided by this name server that is b.iana-server.net. This is authoritative
Okay.
for this domain. Okay. Now what is the server IP address is given in additional section. So if you see biana.server.net, its IP address is 199.43.133.53.
Okay.
You are getting right?
Once again, this there is a dollar sign, then dig dig. Uh, can you come to that command prompt slide?
Okay. This is
This
Windows
one is
environment.
here. Okay.
Here
No,
we
which
use
is
NS lookup.
okay. Instead of that, the one which you are mentioning
Yes,
there.
correct.
Okay.
Instead
Okay.
of
Now
dig,
I got
I have used NS lookup because this is
MS.
Windows environment, which
Okay.
works on DOS, whereas Linux
Okay.
environment works on dig.
Hmm.
Are
So
getting
if I
right?
type, if it's like Ubuntu or
In your Mac,
um, Mac, if
you
I
can give a try.
dig, then it will show up like this. Default server unknown
dig,
address like
no,
yeah.
dig space facebook.com. If you put that command in your Linux, Mac or
Hmm.
Ubuntu, you'll get this result, detailed result.
Okay.
Whereas
Okay,
NS
understood.
lookup, if you put in Windows, you'll get this result. That is the difference.
Okay.
If you like our videos, then subscribe to our channel and be a part of the journey with GoLogica and stay connected with the latest videos.